Hello everyone, good morning. So day 5, 18th of December of the India Promotion Week. I'm very excited that we realized this promotion week for India this time. Today we have a very own topic, Extreme Group. We started the week with Woody Technologies, then we continued with Flowworks, Capella and Libero Systems yesterday, and today, as said, with Extreme Group. So we, Extreme Distribution, did that together with Rahul Commerce, our trusted partner for India, and I'm very happy about that. Thank you very much for the support to Rajendra and his team. We really like working with you. Also, thank you very much to all our partners who supported this week. Today, as said, media workflows and topics of Extreme Group. I'm here with Stefan Pfütze, the CEO of Extreme Group. I'm very happy. My name is Tobias Schönherr. I'm responsible for sales and business development. And amongst other countries, one of my favorite countries I'm taking care of is India. So hello, Stefan.
Hi, Tobias, and a very warm welcome to all of you out there. And yeah, Tobias, happy to join you again this week, the third time, meanwhile, for the India Promo Week.
Very good. So you are guiding us through some Extreme Group topics today. Could you quickly, before you start, say what we are expecting to experience and see today?
Yeah, so today we will do something totally different. We will not talk about the individual products so much. We will more talk about workflow orchestration and integration in general. I will give you an introduction into how we approach projects that are combining multiple products that have a more complex need about a solution that is required rather more than just a product.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. And well, you wanted to add something, I think. Sorry.
No, I don't. I would start.
Great. Thank you. Please do.
So there is a picture that I've created a while ago showing all the products from our portfolio, not in a product context, but more in a solution context. I will share that slide with you in a second. We cannot talk through it completely, but I will give you an idea and gives you a possibility to understand things a little bit better, why we have shown you certain products and why not. Others so much, so how this all fits together. This is a picture that shows our products from our portfolio in a solution context. It is at the end of the day why we are a one-stop shop for the media industry, why all the products are adding up to one big solution. But to be honest, it splits into various solutions that fall apart. On the very left-hand side, you can see various boxes that all say something about ingest. And this is, to be practically speaking, the combination of all the various products that you heard about from Woody Technologies at the first day, and some of the products that you heard about yesterday from Libero Systems. So we have a solution that by a combination of these products are good for ingest platform. I sometimes call it the master ingest solution. That spans from the ingest that you do at a central ingest desk through a kiosk PC, through the ingest from abroad, from, let's say, a press conference or from the hotel room or from the studio. It also includes ingest from social media downloads and regular file transfers in between facilities and contributors, for instance. That is all on this left-hand side of that picture. Then today we will mainly talk about what you can see in the middle. And I highlighted in the blue box the workflow orchestrator. This is what we will focus on today. But such a workflow orchestrator is driving various other engines. And just to name two of the most popular ones, that is TRANSCODING, for instance. We spoke about this at the, I think, second day. And it is the quality control. Our both partners are Capella Systems and Venera Technologies. But there's way more. All about audio processing, video standard conversions, detecting languages, detecting the visual text within a video, that's like OCR, or a transcription like speech to text, then translating texts or audio tracks, searching for faces, objects, and so on. This is all data that is being created either as you have to process it or to be contributed into a media asset management system and a production management system, also into a newsroom system if you are in a news environment when you create your own news. And these are the boxes that you can see on top of the workflow orchestrator. Yeah, to complete it, there are also other management applications. Think about, you need to manage the people that are working on your content. You have to do a resource scheduling, but also you want to schedule your program. You want to manage the rights of the content that you have. And then for sure, you want to do the playout. This is then now more towards the right-hand side, where we have the playout software. We have seen this yesterday from Libero Systems, but there's also a software studio mixer that we have, the live contribution via internet streaming. We heard about the multi-viewer from Libero Systems. And then, yeah, beside the classical transmission over antennas or satellite, there is all the streaming nowadays. And this is where we are also specialists for. So you need a content delivery network, but also a website that is created from a content management system. And if you are in a business model that foresees subscriptions, that you need to manage your subscribers, you need to encrypt the content. And last but not least, you show the content on the various OTT devices. So either a set-top box, a smart TV, a mobile phone, or a classical PC, as we are using this very moment altogether. So as said, today we want to focus on the middle part about workflows, and I will share with you a number of workflows. But before doing this, we need to talk about how we do that, what our approach is. And for that, we should distinguish, let's say, gluing versus workflow orchestration. That is an animation that I did in the year when we started the company. That's probably also the reason why it looks a little bit old schoolish. But this is how media facilities have been done about 20 years ago. You have been gluing all the various pieces of software and hardware together. So from the left to the right, again, we see applications similar to that, what we've seen earlier in our line diagram. And then you put glue in between. So you have been connecting 2 or 3 of them together. And that way you have been creating such a network at the end of applications. Whereas the downside, as you can see, for instance, here in the middle with the media asset management system, it has connections to all its surroundings. And when you exchange the media asset management system, you need to redevelop all the connectors to all the surrounding applications. If you exchange one of the surrounding applications, you have an influence on a media asset management system, and that can require sometimes quite a lot of resources. So the alternative approach is we put a bus in the middle. The top shows again a workflow from the left to the right, very, very high level, from, let's say, the ingest, again, tape files, live stream feeds, towards the actual presentation to the end customer in 2 ways, either live, linear, or as files, as video on demand. And below, we have an architecture that is able to run such media operations. So that is an enterprise service bus that sits in the middle, that's also combined with a workflow system. And this bus has connectors to all the individual applications that are connected. So typically such applications have APIs, and in this bus we have a plug-in infrastructure where we can create another plug-in per upcoming third party to connect to. Obviously, changes are less a hassle. It's way easier to manage that, and also the solutions that are created from that can cover quite more than just the post-production facility or only the playout. It can span across the complete company, and that is what is shown here on this slide. So again, in the middle we have an enterprise service bus, but now we've split things across the various departments or even companies within a larger enterprise. And as you can see on the top, we have again like planning and scheduling of the resources and the program, and that needs a connection to the ERP system, so to the rights that you have, or to the accounting, because when you have used a certain content, then obviously the content owner wants to receive money. So this is an accounting topic, or you want to receive money when you made money from someone has signed a subscription. You need to manage your subscribers, as said. And then towards the lower, you see on the left-hand side, we have on the bottom left, we have more like an engine environment. So that's, let's say, the processing department. And on the top, we have the post-production department. And all of them are, on one hand, a kind of islands that are fully integrated very nicely with a bus system. But all in all, they are also connected with a centralized bus. Obviously, that needs to be a powerful piece of software because it connects everything, and it's no need to say that it needs to be fully redundant and probably needs to span across various facilities, buildings, even cities. That's all possible. Yeah, to the right-hand side, just to complete the picture, I've drawn out the linear playout, and also on top of that, the video on demand publishing, just with some boxes. This is a screenshot of one of the workflows that we created for a customer about 10 years ago. You can't understand all the individual small building bricks here. It just shows you that things can become very complex. And what is special here is that in this particular case, it does even iterative workflow cycles. Means this is a workflow that covers all the ingest, all the movement of files in between the departments to the outside, from the outside. So one very complex workflow that manages the complete facility. Obviously, that is very special. I will show you some other workflows in a moment that are not that complex. Yeah, as said and as promised, some examples. When I prepared that presentation, I found out that we documented quite a lot. We will look into some of them to give you an idea what we typically deal with, and please let us know when you have interest for special things. Just want to encourage you, please use the chat functionality in the webinar tool if you want to raise questions. So one of the typical workflows that we often deal with is all about the file-based ingest. That is what we do for at least half of our customers. And as you can see on the very top, we have our workflow orchestrator. And what we often do is at the very first step after the files have been received, we do a metadata analysis. So typically at least the metadata, the technical metadata of the video file, but sometimes also metadata from like an XML file or ADI file that comes along with the video file. And this is then orchestrating the workflow. In some cases, we do virus scanning right afterwards, even probably in a DM set. And then we are often asked to do a transcoding or a rewrapping, so the workflow distinguishes what is needed, and the file is harmonized into the house standard file format. Yeah, and then this is checked again with a quality control, not only about technical metadata criteria, but also to check on the video and the audio quality. Think about blocking artifacts or loudness problems in the audio. And if everything is successful, the file is afterwards being handed over typically into the production management system, sometimes into the archiving system or the newsroom system. Or in other cases, we will see that later on, into the publishing CMS. That depends on who our customer is. So this applies for broadcasters, post-production facilities, but also for the publishers. Yeah, what you have already spotted the right path here. When something goes wrong, then obviously the file is being put into a quarantine, and from there a manual operator can make a decision and can pick it up. Yeah, we will see network diagrams in the next minutes quite often. So this is one of that. As said, on the left-hand side, this is where the content comes in via FTP, Signet, Aspera, File Catalyst, or via an ingest station, also a product of us. And so we do see a screenshot here of our so-called ingest browser. And from there, we drive a workflow that looks into the virus scanning first, and then the transcoding, quality control, and the handover. I think no need to say, here in these diagrams, you will see physical boxes like HP video service, HP servers in this case, but don't worry, more or less all our installations that we do are fully virtualized. But to visualize a little bit how the system is put together, it makes sense simply to show such boxes. Yeah, and that is one of the example workflows that is orchestrated and is exactly doing what we just spoke about. This is a so-called category 1 ingest. That is a little bit more simple one. In our ingest, we distinguish 3 categories. Content that is created with my own camera, the own settings by my own staff. So I have it in hand that everything is done well during the shootings. And this is a workflow that looks after that case. And then it gets more complex when the content is not done on the own equipment, but equipment that I know, but probably the settings are not correct. And the last category is it comes from somewhere and I need to expect everything to happen. So in the first case, I will probably even not do a virus scanning and no transcoding because the camera does what I want. And in the last case, I will run the full program to ingest the file. Yeah, one other example goes just hand in hand with this is the handover into an AVID production asset management system. So content can be received. Again, here in this case, we have shown an old Signet Media Exchange. Today, these are other products, but this is an existing project that we did for a customer in Croatia. And then afterwards, it was asked to create the house format with their transcoder, in this case, the old Harmonic WFS. And afterwards, we used the Woody framework to do the ingest, the handover of the files into the AVID PAM. Yeah, that is how it looks like in a network diagram, fairly simple. Again, in this case, the Woody Intuit component does not run on a separate server. It simply is installed on the transcoding farm. Other example is the other way around. So whenever you put something into a post-production, you want to get it out again earlier, later. And for this, we also have created a workflow that is listening on the PAM and is extracting the files out from the PAM, again, does a transcode, is probably also reformatting metadata, and then is handing over that to a system of need. Now, where does this apply? Think about you want to send files to your playout, you want to put it on your video on demand website, you want to hand it over to your B2B customer, so like the broadcaster, or you want to hand it over to someone who does a streaming with it or shows it as a kind of airport TV or stadium TV or whatsoever. So that shows a picture where we do both ways, in and out. It's simply doubling the ways. Yeah, and again, this is how it looks in our workflow orchestrator, where we have such workflows created for the transfer in and the transfer out. Fairly simple workflows. In practice, such workflows are often more complex because we have to think about all the exceptions that can happen and need to catch them, at least as it's useful. And then there are more lines and all the case handling. So this was classical ingest into post-production. Now let's move away from that and think about something different. There is the ingest and the subtitling. Now, subtitling often happens not at the facility itself. It's handed over to a subtitling company. So here this customer has stored his content into a front porch Diva HSM system, hierarchical storage management system. The requirement was to take it from that system to do basic QC and then to match it with a so-called order list. And at the end to hand out the subtitles for the subtitling. But prior to this, there was a naming convention required, a mezzanine format to be created that was sent to the subtitling partner. And here in this particular case, we see also a manual quality control. So to check whether the video quality was correct, and then it runs into the actual subtitling workflow, means there's a layback to the archive and then the actual subtitling. Subtitling then means audio, video and subtitles are merged into one file at the end of the day, ready to go for playout. A little bit of an edge case, and here we have some mock-ups about user interfaces that we have foreseen for this project. Yeah, and that's the actual so-called subtitle workflow. This is where the combination happens. As said, it's afterwards there was the requirement again for another quality control and manual and an automatic, and then the layback of the final result. So this is someone who has a need to create subtitles, to keep the subtitles, also then to use them immediately for the playout. And again, as you can see, you need to consider the error passes simply to catch the edge cases where not everything works smoothly. Yeah, de-archiving, something very simple. Yeah, we've been asked to provide a possibility that the workflow system can be triggered to get the files from the archive system. That's something simple. So as next, I want to focus on something that happens towards the end of the media creation chain, and that is all the video on demand publishing. That are projects that we do quite a lot. I think half of our turnover is somehow related with all the publishing, presentation, streaming. Here I brought a very simple workflow. It can also require subtitling workflows or audio dubbing workflows. For that very moment, let's keep it simple. So these are workflows that we have created exactly like this, it's shown here, because many network operators, content publishers are receiving content from content agencies, from broadcasters, or yeah, preparation facilities that are kind of ready to go, but it's all in one package, and obviously at the end you need to bring the content at your platform to the right places. Now, if that is 1 or 2 files a day, you can do that fully manually. If you are receiving 10 files an hour, then probably that is not suitable anymore. And this workflow looks after unpackaging a content package that you receive. So it can be an unzip, an untar, looks after metadata files, picture files, subtitle files, audio files, is detecting what's in that package, runs the files through transcoding. In this particular case, as we work with adaptive bitrate streaming, the transcoder will create all the renditions, so the various bit rates of that source file, and afterwards is uploading the video to the CDN. Not shown here in this picture is the creation of additional pictures that are put on the CMS. Think about you want to create a so-called scrubber board. That's the board at the lower end of a player where you can scrub through a video. That needs to, at the end, it's a mosaic picture that needs to be rendered. We do that. We merge audio and video. We put the subtitles at the right place on the CDN, and then we hand it over to the CMS, what is then kicking off the publishing on the front end so that the end user can see it. Architecture is super simple, not that much to tell about. As you have spotted, I'm always utilizing the same type of diagram again and again. The difference here is on the right-hand side, we have a CDN and a CMS in contrast to the other cases where we had a post-production facility. And what you can probably spot right now, in our eyes, workflow is workflow. It's always about video, metadata, and sometimes we have pictures, audio files, and subtitle files. But somehow what you do all along the media creation chain in the various steps is always the same. Yeah, this is the actual workflow that was created for this project. On the very left-hand side, this is all the extraction of the metadata from the source package. What is then driving the actual workflow? Here we have a split up in between. We do update metadata, we do update video, or we delete a video, or, and this is the main chain here at the lower end, we create a new asset at the CDN and the CMS. And you can spot here, there's a transcoding happening that's in the middle, and then the handover to the actual content delivery management network. We have connected for the transcoding and for the CDN various products over the years, but the workflow is somehow always the same. And then at the end, there's the handover of the metadata to the publishing system. Yeah, just to mention something very special, fast turnaround live to what. I will not elaborate too much on that. We are often asked for, can you create video on demand from live streams? And yes, we can. But in addition, you often want to not only live encode, but you also have to trim out commercial breaks. You want to replace commercial breaks. You want to trim at the beginning, at the end. But as we have called it, a fast turnaround, what you want to achieve is that the video on demand is available just some minutes after the live event has ended. And for that reason, you need to start all the cutting and the transcoding while the event is running. For this, we use a loop recorder that is connected with a file transcoder. And on the file transcoder, we do a growing file transcoding. In combination with, we can start and stop this or pause this, this file transcoding. And that allows the workflow orchestrator, controlled either manually or by API from a control automation application, to actually create all the active segments in the output format. And then again, there's the handover of the metadata to the CMS and the CDN. If you are interested in something like this, let us know. Sophisticated stuff. And yeah, one more that's also very sophisticated. It's more a kind of engineering project that we did, was vendor independent network distributed transcoding. Big words. What does that mean? There was the question, can we transcode faster than real time, way faster than real time, simply by parallelizing the transcoding job? And that is what we do with this split. And we run that across different transcoding machines. And afterwards, we concatenate the results. Now, what we did is not to run it only on the transcoding product of one vendor, but across the products from different vendors. So, and even that works if you stay with standard formats like a transport stream or an MP4 file, and coding is similar. So as an example, we did that with transcoders from Harmonic, Telestream, and Capella systems. It shows a little bit that we are also orchestrating farms from different vendors. So you are not bound when you do an orchestration with our workflow tools to have a small set of third-party tools. We do quite a lot. Down the chain, there is often SCOTI trigger integrations. SCTE 35 and 104, as I remember, triggers and some more. That's all about ad insertion. So you remember we spoke about video on demand. Now, if that is not a subscription-based model, but an advertisement-based model, so an AVOD, then you want to splice in your commercial breaks. And for that reason, you need to know where you can do that. That is often done with so-called SCOTI triggers. And here we have two needs. On one hand is sometimes you need to move such splicing points because you receive them not correctly, or you need to add them if they are missing, or in some cases you want to delete them because you don't want to have an advertisement at a certain place. And for this reason, we have a library that is able to work on such transport stream in a compressed way and is manipulating such splicing points. But on the other hand, we also have an application that is extracting such splicing points. So the first was the change of a splicing point. Sorry, the second here, yeah, and the second here is about cutting. We do both. The environment is very simple. We have an analyzer and then we have the patcher that all runs typically on one single virtual machine. Here it's just split up that you can get a picture about how the various software components are put together. So this have been some examples, just to recap, from the ingest via the processing towards the post-production, from the post-production towards the playout. And then we had workflows that looked into video on demand creation, video on demand publishing, and downstream the manipulation of streams for ad insertion. We do way more, but these are examples that we do quite frequently. Now, just want to highlight products that we use for that from our portfolio, our own products, as we spoke about products the last days as well. One is our so-called INGEST browser. It is an application that we utilize to start workflows. And so again, as a picture here, you have seen this earlier already. On the left-hand side, to start a workflow, you need an application that the operator does work with. And what it does, it is served, it's a web application, it's served from a web server that runs also on a Tomcat Java application server. And it is able to browse the network for content or the local machine. In our cases, most often it's the network. And from there, it allows you to get a list of your source files. You can select files as you need. You can set in and out points. You can concatenate or build a list of files. And afterwards, you start a workflow. So we call it often also the workflow starter application. And that workflow starter then asks you for certain data that the workflow needs. In my case, I have an integration here that asks for a start time code because it's recomputing the time code, and an output file name, and then we start the processing. Now, it can be connected with our workflow system that we will see in a moment, or it can be connected just with a transcoder. That depends on, we have various backend connections available. Yeah, whenever you have started a workflow, you also want to know what's going on in my machinery. And for that reason, we have our so-called one GUI. The idea is one user interface where you can monitor all the applications that you have in your machinery room. And as you can see here on the top, there are various transcoders shown, so Capella systems that we spoke about, but also other third-party transcoders. We have quality control applications, in Terabaten, but also from Venera Systems, our partner in the portfolio. Or ingest applications like Mock Solutions or Woody Technologies. There's also other workflow applications and more file movement applications from Signiant, for instance. And what is a common criteria that is happening on all these machines is they are running jobs of on files. So, and they always have this kind of file list view, but some of them only have a desktop client, or they have just a client that runs on the server side, or they have a client that does not distinguish in between the administrator and the operator and the supervisor. And for that reason, we are retrieving the information into a database. I call it a cache database on our one GUI server that is done with a backend connector engine that has plugins, and that plugins are connecting to the various third parties APIs or to the databases or to files. That depends a little bit on the application. And then the front end application within our one GUI server is serving out on one hand the web user interface, and on the other hand it serves out the data. And how does it look like? You are asked to log in, then you see the lists of jobs from all your machines. But here you can start filtering. To explain first, on the left-hand side, you have the list view. When you click on one of the products, on one of the jobs, you can get the list of the tasks of that workflow job. And if a task has properties, you can see that here below. And there's actually also an error bar that comes up if there's an error to show. Yeah, you can filter the list for either file names or for a status or for a priority. Here I have been filtering for all the 3 criteria and for a creation date. And for that reason, the list got quite short, because earlier you've seen it was way longer. You can, as said, filter for the third-party system. You can have multiple transcoding farms of the same brand connected. For instance, one for sports, one for news, one for the magazines, and then you would probably not name them differently. So for the operator, you would not name them by product name, but by like sports. That's possible. There's also operations. So with a right mouse click, you can reprioritize, you can stop, or delete a job. You can see the machines within that farms. Here, that was a transcoder farm code that consisted from just one single machine. And on the right-hand side, you can see the services of that product that are running on this machine. This, as you can see, is a pop-up window. And you probably remember earlier we have seen the INGEST browser. The INGEST browser can also be a pop-up window that comes here from that menu. So this one GUI can become also the central place where you do all the operations. For that reason, you manage your users, you can filter what they may see, what jobs by name or other criteria. You give them rights by a user and role-based model. And you can hide or show information. As we spoke about pop-up windows, there's one more. That is our statistics view. The statistics view is simply computing the data from our cache database and is showing that in a representation, like for SLA reporting or for troubleshooting or other reasons. At the end, every criteria that you can put into an SQL statement, we can easily make available here in that view, even with a super small customization job. There's one last product that we quickly want to talk about before we come to an end, and that is our workflow manager. The workflow manager is that entity that we have seen earlier, that is this bus system that sits in the middle of all the third-party applications and has these connectors. Here, it's always difficult how to draw that, but you can see we have connected various transcoders, also video processing applications, audio processing applications, quality control systems, and also always not from one brand, but from multiple. We have connected MXF correction tools, MXF rewrappers, various MUMs and PUMs, content management and publishing systems, CDNs, and so on, file movement tools. This is not a complete picture, and it goes on and on. It's our daily business to build more connectors that we sell either as connectors together with the product, or that are sold then as part of a complete solution. It has a dashboard. You can see the actual various workflows that are orchestrated, the so-called workers. Let me grab one slide that's probably a little bit more of interest. We have seen the workflows earlier. This is a slide that shows you a few of the starting configuration or the workflow configuration in general. So a workflow can be orchestrated once, but we can expose certain parameters that can be changed from time to time, or where you vary a workflow and you can use it for different use cases, probably on different machines, and that is done here. So we can expose such parameters. That is simply a second slide on the same thing. It is a list of people that we also manage. That means in the workflow orchestration, we can define who can change workflows, who can just monitor workflows, who is also able to see log files and does troubleshooting. And that is again a group and user-based model. As said, there's not only the users, there's also the machines and the services. Here in the lower end, we see some machines that are all connected to the workflow engine. And on the top, we see a number of third-party connectors that are made available in that workflow orchestration system. So here we are coming to an end of the 2 days presentation. The question is whether we had any any questions that we can answer live right now. If not, please feel free to send questions whenever you want. Toby.
Yes, correct. Also about the questions, the same goes with any kind of individual requests. So if something of the presentation was interesting to you, even though it is just starting with a question, or on the other hand, you definitely would like to know more, please contact us. We'd like to elaborate with you on this in an individual conversation. And so really break down the kind of things we know and we are experts in to your use case when it feels much more real for you, I think. At that point, I think we really can go over to announcing the India offers that we have until the end of the year. So if the PO comes in by the end of the year, we would be very happy to, what we normally never do, discount that directly with 40% for the one GUI. And also very interesting, apart from customer conversations, so I want to differ here. A kind of pre-sales conversation is something else than this 1 hour remote workflow consulting free, because normally at some point during a pre-sales conversation, we would give you some homework and would ask you to elaborate on that with your team in a workshop yourself, because obviously that's your work. However, that is what we mean with remote workflow consulting, where we would really do this kind of workshop with you. We have to pick out something because it's a bit more complex than normally 1 hour. But if it's, for example, your most important ingest workflow, we could definitely highlight what is important for you and where you should maybe elaborate a bit more. But we could definitely design that on a high level in 1 hour. We would like to offer that to everyone who is interested. However, it's limited to 3 customers because it takes a bit of our time. We need to prepare that. It's not just 1 hour for us. Anyway, thank you very much for your time and for participating in this promotion week. I personally find it very interesting, and I'm quite excited about it. Thank you very much, Stefan, for today's session and also for Wednesday's session, yesterday for taking over. Thank you very much, Rahul Commerce team, for working with us and for all your efforts. And of course, every prospect and customer who was watching and who will contact us. Thank you very much, and have a nice ending of this year.
Thank you so much for all of you being with us, and have a good time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.